Jules. Microsoft just hosted a very Apple-like unveiling of some mostly compelling products that might just disrupt the space-time continuum. Apple's newest iPhone uses processors from 2 different manufacturers that might result in some phones lasting longer than others. And BlackBerry is talking up its new smartphone while also considering exiting the smartphone business, at least on the hardware side. All that, plus your listener mail and a live give-and-take Q&A on episode 169 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast from Pocketnow.com, where, like the Pac-Leds, we look for things to make us go. Smartphones, tablets, wearables, holographic headsets, and beyond. It's all the mobile stuff you wished existed when you were a kid. From Boston, Massachusetts, I'm Pocketnow's reviews editor, Michael Fisher. I'm joined by Stephen Schenck, our chief news editor and the senior New Jersey man on the team. Welcome back, XO.
Man, we cannot go back to calling it Pocketnow.com. It took me years to stop doing that. This is
the .com. Don't talk to Adam Lane. He's still got business cards from 1998.
Woo-hoo!
And we've got a trader on the team today as well. No, I'm sorry. I meant to say a New Yorker. Formerly of Boston, from Booredatwork.com, and Etteh. Welcome back to the Weekly, sir.
Thanks for having me back. I'm not a trader. I still love my Boston teams.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not really convinced that you're still with us.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump. Come on.
Yeah. The time on the Eastern Seaboard, whether you live in Boston or New York, or New Jersey for that matter, is 1:06 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone.
Aloha.
Listen. We've got stuff to talk about. We've got all kinds of stuff to do. We have a lot of things to cover and a lot of people to make happy or angry or sad. But first, we're going to make everybody universally happy by telling them about a useful damn set of tools from Wix.com. Because if you need a website, and you need a website, I don't care who you are, why not do it yourself? With Wix.com. You could hire someone to do it, but it's going to be very costly for you. And you have to deal with another human being, and who wants that? I don't. I really don't want that at all. Core talking points are these. When you're running your own business, you're bound to be busy. Too busy. Stephen, do you run your own business?
I mean, technically, but...
Right. I run my own business. Enobong, do you run your own business?
Definitely.
Yeah. So you're busy, right? And you're too busy for anything that's difficult. So it has to be easy. And that's where Wix.com comes in. It's easy for you to create a stunning website no matter what business you're in. And you wouldn't be alone if you used it. You'd be in the company of 60 million people throughout the world. Wix.com empowers business owners to create their own professional websites with drag-and-drop building, hundreds of designer-made customized templates, and no coding necessary. It's easy. It's also free. You can go to Wix.com and sign up for an entirely free account today. That's Wix.com. There's no credit card required at all. You can get your website live. The result is outstanding. You don't need to be a programmer or a designer to do it either. Wix.com for free today. Stephen, as usual, I'm going to ask you to remind everyone how they can participate in today's program because it is not a difficult thing to do if you know what to do. And I will also take the opportunity to say that a lot of people wrote in some wonderful mail to us, as they usually do.
Yeah, I saw a few of those.
But they were, like, several of them were, like, as long as an editorial. They were seriously over 1,000 words long.
But that's the kind you like.
I like them.
I
don't
always asking for these really...
Them.
Oh?
No, I hate them. You know why? Because they just die. They go in that inbox, and then we can't read them on the air because it would take 18 minutes to read it aloud, and then it just dies. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go to anybody's eyeballs. Nobody experiences it but me, and I experience enough. So I would like those people.
Had your fill of this whole life thing. This is
right.
But I thought the idea was they wanted you to personalize it.
No, what I want them to do is drop those emails in the comments on the podcast post at Pocketnow.com so that other people can see and engage with them. You know what I'm saying? Does everybody understand that? I hope so.
Put them in the comments now? Okay.
In the comments.
All right. So
that's what we want.
To revise my spiel a bit then, I guess, but many ways to contribute. The comments is apparently a valid way now in the post telling you about the Pocketnow Weekly.
In the post, not in the YouTube comments. Important.
Oh no, YouTube comments, that's a whole different cesspool. But on the lovely, nice to use and comment on Pocketnow website, you can leave your comments about what we're talking about on the air. If you're watching us live on Google Hangouts, thank you very much for doing so. We love having you here every week. And you can there's a little Q&A thing over on one side of your screen or the other. You can pop on over there and type in your questions. The other viewers will vote up their favorites. We're going to look through a couple times throughout the program, see what's trending there, and try to answer some of the more popular ones on the air here. So there, or in the post comments, or
you got it. You got this, man. Stick with it.
Email. Do you guys have email? It's good. You should get on. AOL will give you a free email if you don't have one. Podcast at pocketnow.com. Send us an email there. We have quite a few nice listener mails in the running today. Like Michael said, make them as long as possible. Just ramble on for.
Don't do it.
No? Okay. Well, short and sweet. We'll take that too. Q&A, post comments, podcast at pocketnow.com. 3 ways to contribute. We want to hear from you guys. Pick one. Just shout out.
I love it. I love it all. Thank you, Stephen. You're wonderful at that. Before we get a bunch of upvoted questions in the Q&A, I'm wearing these glasses so you can't see my cold, dead eyes after this week.
Shouldn't they be a lovely shade of yellow?
I know. I couldn't find my Gunnar optics, so I had to wear the fake ones I bought in Berlin on my trip there. Yeah. Enobong, you are in New York City. You're from Booredatwork.com. Everyone should know you. You've guessed it here before. How is life in New York, very briefly, before we jump into what happened in New York this week?
It's better.
It's better than Boston.
How long have you been there?
Man, I did not bring you on the show to drop that. I don't like that.
I've been here for a month and a half.
Okay.
It's been cool. I mean, it's great to have energy around me, so it gets me all pumped in the morning. I'm in Brooklyn, so it's nice. Overall, I'm enjoying it, but I mean, there are a few things I miss from Massachusetts.
You're telling me like a city that dumps 5.5 feet of snow on you every month doesn't like energize the populace and get them really vibrant?
I mean, it hasn't even happened yet, and the potential.
I mean, it can when you're building igloos, and then those igloos get buried with 5 more feet of snow. But it has its charms. And I miss Michael Fisher, so
thank you.
I rarely see him.
Only reason I asked that question.
He was fishing for there.
Some Enobong love. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, listen, it's time for us to get into the meat of the affair this week. So, Jules, I will ask us. Thank you. We got to talk about Microsoft or Psychromoft, as a friend of my father's once called it when he was investing in them, and during the Windows 3.1 days. A lot of stuff happened this week, and it was almost all at the Microsoft event in New York City on, what was it, Tuesday?
Yes,
Tuesday. Yeah.
Bright and early.
Holy crap.
Boy, did Microsoft bring it.
Yeah, man. And we're gonna go in order of the products here. We've got the Surface Pro 4 on the screen, but we're gonna sort of go in order of the rundown. But just let's talk about the event itself at first. As Stephen covered it remotely from across the river, Enobong and I were there, and even though we only saw each other for a second, I believe Enobong at one point flipped off the ceiling for some reason. So we're gonna ask him why he did that. I forgot why that was. And but the event was overall, I think, quite a success. I think it was a really
consensus.
Yeah, it was a key day for Microsoft in terms of the tone of the presentation, in terms of the content of the presentation. Pretty much everything went right, or almost everything went right. Enobong, did you get that feeling as well from your position in the audience?
Yeah, I mean, presentation-wise, I think they hit the nail on the head for all their products. Although I did tweet out them not squashing the beef with Google quite early in the presentation. But overall, I think they hit every single mark they wanted to, and also brought some thunder. Which is kind of the theme that they stated there. Some thunder to Microsoft's momentum, especially with competitors having devices that are similar, or at least walking into the space that they've created with the Surface. So it was nice to see them actually do a presentation well, and there were no sweaty armpits of Palmer.
Yeah, no, it was an excellently done presentation. It was a very Apple-like presentation. A lot of people are saying. I tend to agree with that. There was a lot of.
You see, I actually
feel
disagree with
to
you,
it.
though.
You do? No, I think there. I mean, there was a lot of soul to it. There was a lot of talk about feelings. There was a de-emphasis of specs on the whole, and there was an emphasis on why are we doing this? Why are we building in these specs to this product? If not to create a customer experience that's wonderful. And they didn't say magical, I don't think, but that was the vibe I got.
I don't see, anytime I watch an Apple press conference, I get no soul. I get a lot of marketing. I get a lot of fluff. Microsoft brought soul and specs at the same time. They stated everything you needed to know, and they still told you it could slap any machine out of the market. So I really like that aspect about it. I think it was a little bit more, especially I think having Panos do the presentations. I think they found the person there to say, hey, you're going to go out, you're going to sit, you talk about all our devices. That's why he's the head of device division anyway now.
Right.
And give that passionate feeling of why you love the tech, what's in the tech, and why people should get it.
And it wasn't just Panos. I'm ashamed to say that I don't remember his name, who presented right after Panos, who did the Continuum presentation.
Yes. He was
on point. Like we're gonna, maybe Jules can look it up for us, or somebody in the chat will remind us of his name. But he was awesome too. But yeah, pretty much everyone, even Panos was quite surprised. Panos Panay, the head of product for the Windows group, came out and was sort of blown away by the audience reaction, where there was this massive wave of applause. And every company sort of does these plants in the crowd where so they can have a guaranteed friendly house. But it was a wave of just, it was almost a standing O at his entrance, and he kind of stopped for a second. He's like, wow, so that was cool. Anyway, let's talk about Microsoft's new stuff. And so the presentation was solid. Jules is saying that it had more soul to it, and agreeing with you, Enobong. But what I liked is that Microsoft did not shy away from confronting Apple on a lot of stuff. They straight up said, like, this is competing with what Apple's got. And you know what? That's a great product. The MacBook Air, or whatever they were saying, the MacBook Pro, the MacBook Air, these are great products. But this is better for this reason, and here's why. And it was a very classy way of announcing a suite of competing products. So let's talk about one of them. Let's talk about the Surface Pro 4, because that's the first one we're talking about today. This thing is almost exactly what we were expecting, right, Stephen? I don't think we were. We totally fulfilled on a lot of the fancier stuff, right? Like the bezel free.
No bezel whatsoever. I mean, they shrunk it down. We ended up with a device that's the same size as last year's. So it was able to grow its screen a little bit by shrinking down those bezels around the screen a little bit. But yeah, this is very much stamped from the mold that the Surface Pro 3 came from. Visually, the design has not departed very far here. We're just seeing the sort of spec upgrades we'd expect. What is this, 18 months since the Pro 3 came out? It's been a while now.
Yeah.
Has it been that long? Oh, I thought it was a year on the nose. I guess
no. It came out in like May or something.
It was in May. The press event for that was in May.
Roger that. Okay. Yeah, we've had, there are some minor changes here. There's the elimination of the Windows key is a big one on the device itself. It's still on the type cover. It's slimmer now. It is much.
Also, but the pen, some nice improvements.
Absolutely. Is it? Yeah. So the S Pen. Hold on. I don't want to talk about that first. I want the style, the whatever. Yeah. I want to talk about the type cover, because that's sort of my favorite feature of every Surface, and I like how they improve on it with every successive generation. I'm using a Surface 3 as I do with the podcast, and the keys on the type cover are actually quite nice, but they are really crowded together. And with this generation, they've separated the keys. They've given them, I think, a 19mm key pitch.
That sounds about right.
And deepened, given them
1.3 or 1.6 travel. Yeah. I'm getting my specs confused with the Surface Book. And I think the best thing here is the backwards compatibility, right?
Yes, so you can take a Surface Pro 4 type cover and slap it on a Surface Pro 3, and because the Surface Pro 3 does not have biometric capability, it doesn't have Windows Hello, which we'll talk about next, there's a fingerprint scanner right alongside the trackpad, which is bigger. It's like a 40% larger trackpad than it was on the Surface Pro 3s, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
The whole reason we have Enobong here is to tell us what some of this feels like. Because did I tell you, Enobong, why we desperately needed you today?
You didn't actually touch the devices?
Yeah. So Pocketnow did. We did, because that's our hands-on videos. Like, this is all us touching the devices, but it's all Adam Lane. We decided that, okay, Adam, you go do some hands-ons. I'm going to write all the scripts and do the VO first, and then you come back with your footage, and we'll do it. And then I'll go and touch all the devices. Then I'll get some perspective. So we got the first part of that plan done, and then I go to, like, touch all the devices. Microsoft is like, we have to change the venue over now. Please leave. Everyone go. And we're like, surely they can't be serious. And then legit, like, fire marshals were throwing us out of the building because
what the hell?
Yeah, it was interesting the way they set things up for the event. Actually, again, could you hold on 1 second? Just lament. FedEx is right here. I apologize.
Enobong, you can go.
Bring in surprises.
We're gonna let him go, but when he comes back, I'm gonna demand to see what kind of shipments he's getting, because they get some cool stuff at Booredatwork. But yeah, the type cover's really awesome.
And this whole theme of like working with the Pro 3 extended throughout the accessory you saw here was also with the new docking station.
Yeah, how does that work? Do you remember anything about that? Because that sort of completely blew over my head. You could plug your Surface Pro 4 into the docking station, and you would get it has HDMI out.
4K outputs. Display port.
It does have 4K output.
Yeah.
Sorry about
USB
that.
3.0. No worries.
It's okay. Did you get anything cool?
I haven't opened it up. It's a big FedEx package, so we'll see what's inside.
All right. When you get a break later, open it up, because we want to see it. We want to give an exclusive.
Show it off.
Yeah, the docking station doesn't terribly excite me much. What do we remember about the pen? Because the pen, my favorite thing about the pen is on the back of it. It's the new eraser that they use. Yeah.
What I actually like the best about the pen is you can change the tips, the feel of the tips.
Yes. Now, did you get to experience different feels? Because
I did. There was a station that had a couple of different tips, and literally I put one up, and I thought I was using a brush. I was like, whoa, what is it? And he's like, no. This feels more like a brush, and this is more like, a felt pen, and this is more like your traditional ballpoint. I'm like, oh, okay. And it really was. It was an interesting thing, because with styluses, I'm terrible at writing. My handwriting looks like chicken scratch. So having something that's more like a ballpoint pen, which is what I write best with, I think for me it's great. And it's like $10, I think, for the different tips. You can switch out if you want to switch out the tips. So I like that aspect. And the eraser was pretty neat, because, think about all the different applications where you would probably use the pen, and then looking for, erase or delete, and you don't have to do that anymore. You just flip it around and,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised to see Microsoft talking about the extent to which it's the Pro 3 users have been using the pen for input. I mean, I think I would have assumed, like they said in the presentation, that everyone thinks that we're going in this direction of everything's touch input, and people they're not used to writing or clicking or rubbing on things. But no, apparently Surface Pro users have really taken to this, and
those stats,
though, is going to be a big part of it.
I mean, Microsoft doesn't necessarily have to cite their sources if they're citing their own data. I get it, but they're like, it was some absurd figure. It was like 90-something% of Surface Pro 3 users use the pen, and I'm like, what? That can't be. It just doesn't sound.
Well, I mean, just regularly versus.
I mean, yeah, I guess it could be that, but I do know that most people I know who have Surface Pro 3s that I interact with do use the pen. I mean, for instance, Sam, who's on the Booredatwork team, he uses it on a daily basis. He cannot do without the pen.
Sure, and I get that geeks like us will do it. Yeah, like Adam Lane, when he cut 2 of these hands-on videos on a Surface Pro 2, and he used the pen in Premiere to do the whole thing. So I get that people like us would do it, but I mean, they're talking about like 9 out of 10 Surface Pro 3 owners using the pen, and it's just, I don't know, it struck me as a high number. It was similar to, what was it, like, oh no, maybe it's 50% of the, I don't remember the metric, because like 98% or something would recommend the Surface Pro.
I think it was in the 50 or 60 range.
I think it's 50. I think the recommendation is 90.
That's what
92%.
Yeah. All right, so I believe half the people use it.
But I mean, you also think about it, the adoption rate of OneNote has been very high. So
has it?
Yeah, it's really taken off on on the Surface, at least on Windows. So
that's another cool thing too, because the button is not just an eraser. You click the button on the top of the pen once, and it'll open up OneNote. You click it twice, and it'll get a screenshot that you can then like doodle on. And if you press and hold it, it'll fire up Cortana. So
can we get an animated GIF of Alan Cumming and GoldenEye here?
By the way, I've been catching up on all the James Bond films.
Likewise.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Then some of them are so terrible, and they're wonderful too, because it's just wonderful. But anyway, yeah, the Surface Pro 4. What are we forgetting here? There's
Josie, that'll work.
Obviously it's
16 gigs of RAM.
10. Yes.
PCIe SSD.
Up to a terabyte of storage.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
6th Gen Skylake will actually fit into the Surface 3 dock also, just so that people know. Same size.
Yeah, Stephen wanted to talk about the dock very briefly. I just lost my notes on the event, so sorry about that. But I think this is a really, really worthy follow-on. I mean, it is iterative, yes, but I think iterating on the Surface Pro 3, you're starting at a really, really good place.
Yeah, I don't think Surface Pro 3 users were shouting, "Please change this. We hate what you did here."
Right, exactly. So, all right, so that's the Surface Pro 4, and we got a lot of devices to cover, so we should actually move on. They take away the Surface Pro 4, and I think I can remember exactly how Panos Panay put it. He said, "So what do? You've got a Surface Pro 3 that's really successful. So do you double down on that, and do you bring the thunder, or do you use the opportunity to reinvent?" Well, here's what we did, and then he leaves the stage.
And Thunder E came out. Sorry.
And then Thunder E came out. That's when Enobong came out on the stage. No, and then there's this. It was AC/DC, right?
Yeah.
AC/DC's Thunder dropped. I forget. I think that's the name of the song, right? And that's when they started showing off the next version, the next category in the Surface lineup, the Surface Book.
Where did this come from?
Right? Not a single leak that I saw. Am I forgetting anything, Stephen? Did you see any 11th hour leaks of this thing, or was this totally new to everybody?
No, this was very unexpected.
No leak, but I mean, I think a lot of people knew they were going to have two Surfaces.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I predicted that.
Well, and I think a lot of people were saying the Surface Mini. Were assuming the Surface Mini would be the second one, right?
No. Most people were going for a 12 and a 14, which technically is the case. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So we've got this. If you're not watching the video feed, we've got this almost white. It's so silver, it's almost like white device opening up and showing you this really fairly high density pixel display. I think it's
3000 by 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's 3 ppi higher than the iPad Pro or something. So it's technically it's got an edge. This magnesium body, these massive batteries, this crazy hinge that I want to talk about a little bit.
That hinge.
And when it's closed, it doesn't. It looks like a laptop, sure, but it sort of looks like a. I don't know.
Ammo.
Yeah, what do you think about this design? Let's finish the story first. You close it, you open it, it's a laptop, whatever, and then they give us the whole briefing, and then 20 minutes later, Panos Panay is like, "Oh yeah, and by the way, it's a Surface." So bam, the screen pops up. Oh my God!
Yeah.
So all right, let's. There's a lot to bite off here. What do we think? What about the design? How did you guys feel about it?
I loved it. It's a Gen 1 design, but I still love the fact.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, they could refine the hinge down. I mean, something they could probably bring down a little smaller, a little better.
So why is the hinge that way?
I asked them, and they didn't give me a clear answer to that. Because I was like, okay, you have partners with Lenovo who have that, watch band hinge, right?
Right, that crazy mechanical thing from there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't you get it down to something like that? Because that's very thin, and it still works, and blah blah blah. They just said that that's what they wanted to go with. No one gave me any clear answers as to why.
There must have been some conscious decision that how this looks is okay. We're going to choose functionality over form, and no matter how much benefit this, how the way the screen moves away from the keyboard as you open it, no matter what that contributes to the user experience, there's always going to be people saying it doesn't look right because it doesn't fold completely flat, and I am going to think poorly of it as a result.
And I was weirded out by that. That's
yeah,
why I bring this up.
It looks weird.
It looks weird. When it's closed, the thing has such a giant gap between its two halves that I'm concerned that the crap is going to get in there. It looks sort of like, as Jules is saying, it reminds him of a bendable fluorescent, lamp stand.
Like a big money clip or something.
Yeah, but doesn't it allow the screen to be folded both ways, though? Isn't that one of the big reasons they went with this?
You can do that.
Yeah, I think that might be a possibility there.
They're calling it the dynamic fulcrum hinge, and it's very snake-like.
And in terms of dust coming in, it actually does close properly on all points where the screen and the keyboard come together. So
let's talk about that. That's one of the coolest parts of this thing. So when these devices are joined, and by the way, I think one of y'all has some headphones that are cranked pretty loud because I'm getting some of my own bleed when I talk. But when these things come together, they are not just like held together by snaps. They're held together by something called muscle wire. Had either of you guys heard about this stuff before this event?
Yeah.
Nope.
Stephen had. So this was used somewhere else in other applications?
I mean, the alloys, these have been around forever. It's just things like the memory wire where you bend it into one shape, you put it in hot water, it goes limp, you put it in cold water, it goes back to normal.
Okay.
It's the same basic thing, but they're heating it up with electricity, I guess, and that's making expand or contract. It seems, I mean, just like the hinge, it seems over-engineered. I can't believe this was the best way to do it. It's neat. I mean, it works well. From what I've seen, it works well. It seems to be super quiet, maybe too quiet. It just feels like a problem or a solution in search of a problem. I don't know.
I don't know though, because think about it. Like, here's what they don't want to do. Like, I have the Surface 3 here, as I always do, and when I pick it up from a desktop, the type cover does this. And, it falls, it dangles off the thing, and I'm like, oh, God, I have to hold it like two hands like a baby. And I get that. That's part of the portability proposal of this device, and I live with it because it's a thin, nice device. But if I'm getting the Surface Book, I'm getting a laptop first that can sometimes be a tablet. So I want it. I want to be able to pick it up from the monitor and just, like, haul it around like a misbehaving puppy by its collar. Not that I would do that, but I don't know. I'm bad at analogies today. But, I want it to be strong, and this thing looks really strong when it's
right. But the strength of it is independent of the muscle wire bit. The muscle wire actuates the latches. The latches are what hold it in place, and the choice to move them via muscle wire still seems weird to me.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm not exactly, in terms of that tech and what it does, I'm not exactly sure. I know that to date, every single two-in-one I've used that is detachable feels very wonky. So there is something they decided to do here, because the process of when you hold it, really feels like a laptop.
It really feels like a single integrated unit.
Yeah, and when you separate it, then it separates. So it's almost like, at least I would say from a design perspective, they wanted it to be very clear that you can pick it up, you don't have to worry about it until you hit that button. And then
we got through this whole presentation. I don't think anyone, I mean, the live feeds that some people sort of had the sense that there's going to be a one more thing, just the way that the pace was going. I don't think anyone saw this and was like, oh yeah, that pops off. It really looks like it's just a solidly built normal laptop.
It was great how they did it, because once again, like, they didn't just say, oh yeah, here's one more thing, the screen comes off. Panay was like, yeah, why don't you guys watch this video again a little closer? And they literally like showed us the same video.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was subtly recut to get some close-ups on the hinge, and then suddenly it was like, the video ended, but it didn't really end because suddenly there was a camera shake and boom, the thing splits in half. It was really well done.
Yeah.
And then there was a standing ovation at that point.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
I don't know if was there a standing ovation? I don't know. I was taking notes. I didn't look up.
No, there were, besides the Microsoft plants, and a lot of press actually stood up. They were like, "Yeah, I want this." I was like, "Oh yeah, me too." I mean, just saying.
Wow. Did you stand up?
No, I didn't. I mean, if they were gonna just give me a Surface Book right there, I would have been like, yes.
Oh, that's your price. That's what it takes to get a standing O from Enobong. Okay.
Well,
All
I'm
right,
curious
so now I
from you
know.
guys who were there. What was it like when they started passing that out into the crowd there, and they had to like calm people
It
down?
was hugely distracting, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a spur of the moment thing. Like he was like, Panos whenever had like two.
Not really though.
Here.
He did that last year too, at the event last year.
That's right, he did, but he didn't last year.
Oh, he didn't pass it around. He just gave it to one person. Yeah.
Yeah, he passed a couple of them out, and then like 2 minutes later, when everyone was still crowding around the thing, he was like, "All right, guys, sit down. I got to keep talking. We're over time. Come on, just share." So that was pretty great. But there's apparently, just to finish up the Hinge bit, I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with this thing. Apparently, I didn't know this until I read your story on it, Steven, maybe? I hope it was your story. There's like a fake click to the thing.
Yeah. I mean, the muscle wire, it takes a little while to work. So you press the button on the keyboard, and there's this delay, a second or two, while the wire stretches, the hinges move, and then you can remove the screen. But it's so quiet that there's not a clear indication to the user that like, now I press the button, now it's time for me to pick this up. So it plays. I don't know if it's like a physical clicker in there or if it's just a sound effect coming through the speaker.
It sounds like a physical clicker. I mean, I could hear it with all the noise there where I hit the button and it was like.
But they went out of the way to add this effect in here, so the click you hear isn't actually part of the locking mechanism at all. It's just like it's that oral cue that okay, now I can pick this up, and it's nice. It's like a very Apple-like touch, I think. It's like those electric cars that make fake exhaust noise, so that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the what's under the hood here, because we spent a lot of time on like what's above the magnesium. They've got so many batteries packed into the base of this thing that it looks like you can get like 12 hours of. They're saying
total.
12 hours of use when it's integrated. Of course, that's not the only thing in the base. On some models, there is a discrete GPU in the base as well. And Windows.
Amen. Yes, thank you, Lord.
So I want to ask you, Enobong, what your best your key application for this is going to be. But I want to say that Windows is smart enough, which I think is amazing, that you can just separate the tablet from the dock, and Windows doesn't have to reboot. You don't really have to stop unless you're playing a 3D game or like rendering a video in Premiere. I think you can basically separate these things anytime you want, and Windows is just smart enough to realize that okay, I don't have that discrete GPU anymore. I need to use,
the onboard SSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be Premiere. That's the first thing. The fact that at least now, because when I go to events, I've been using the Surface Pro 3 to edit video, and it's been good. But it's slower, a little sluggish, and then the fan kicks in like a turbine. People are like, "What's going on?"
Those star wipes take some processing.
So having the discrete GPU, which is based off the Maxwell GPU, 1 gigabyte of DDR5 RAM on there, should suffice. Then I can also do some gaming. Just for me, I always have to do some gaming on the go. So it'd be nice. It'd be nice to have that there. So those two things, plus the 12-hour battery life. When you combine all that, at least for me personally, I look at that and go, if I can get close to the 12 hours of battery life, I can edit all the videos I need to on the go, and then if I still want a game, I can do that. It's perfect.
Sold.
So these suckers are both available for pre-order as of 2 days ago. The Surface Pro 4 starts at $899. The Surface Book starts at $1499. These are starting prices, by the way.
And
by the way, I
where do
finally
they
found
go
my
up
notes,
from
if you
there?
can't tell. Yeah, it took me 7 minutes to remember how to find my notes in WordPad on Windows 10. I'm such an expert. I'm such a pro. Anyway, so yeah, I see a lot of enthusiasm in the Twitter feeds about this. Certainly we had the OEMs. Microsoft is going on this crazy tour to pimp all of the OEMs who are building Windows 10 laptops, and there's like stuff from HP, Dell, Lenovo, I think Asus. There's a bunch of competitors to these coming out. Yeah, but I want to ask, and Stephen, feel free to answer. This is mainly to Enobong because he sort of deals with more laptops than any of us do, I think. Has the Surface Books come out as a real challenge to all of these OEMs? I mean, are there people out there who will be better served buying anything but a Surface Book if they want the best Windows 10 machine?
Well, somebody said this. I can't remember where I read it. It said that Microsoft has finally built a laptop competitor that its OEMs refuse to do so. Now, the closest thing I've seen in the last year is from Dell with the new XPS line. So I think if you're looking for a 15-inch, or traditional 14-inch laptop, Dell still has you there with the way the XPS line is built, because from the XPS 13 and even the 15 that I've seen some videos on, it looks like they've done a good job there. But the sweet spot is 13 inches, and that's where even with Apple, the MacBook Pro has made its money. It's the 13-inch MacBook Pro, not necessarily the 15, and that's why they went for that 13.5-inch marketplace, because no one else. You have people like Lenovo who, in terms of consumer high-end laptops, there's really nothing. You have to go to a ThinkPad, the X1 Carbon. But then again, most people think business. I'm not going to touch that. That's a whole different category. So there's really no one, and Microsoft really, I think, had to step up and say, hey, you know what? We have to make something, which is why if you notice with the OEM announcements of all the different devices, right? Dell has a Surface clone, but it's powered by a Core M processor, which is technically the new i3.
Okay, and
HP
is the Surface clone now as well.
Yeah, Mix 700, which is also powered by a Core M. Same thing with HP with the Spectre X2, powered by a Core M. So, it seems like either Microsoft struck a deal and says, fine, you guys can go slightly lower here, and we will push the Surface higher, and then we'll have the Surface 3 on the lower tier of things. So you guys run that middle gambit.
You mentioned the difference between enterprise and consumer, and I'm going to use that as a launch pad into mobile here. So here was my experience at this thing, and you guys tell me if you had something similar. I watched Microsoft unveil a really incredible, Surface. I watched them unveil a Surface Book. I even watched them make the Microsoft Band into something that maybe I might want to wear. And we'll talk about that briefly. And then I watched him drop the Windows phones. And this is not the sequence of how it happened. It's just how I reassembled it later in my head.
Drop might be the operative word there.
Would you say drop?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Microsoft finally unveiled the Cityman and Talkman, aka the Lumia 950 and 950 XL. Microsoft was smart enough to have a bunch of its former Nokia team on hand to talk about these devices. We're very knowledgeable about them. They have some interesting specs. They have some pretty good specs.
Yeah.
They're going to be running Windows 10. I want to talk about industrial design to get out of the way first, because it's important to me when I know a wave of hate mail is coming. I like to hit it right up front.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So I don't think that I do not think that either of them has a very compelling design. Mainly because we've seen it before. It's like a 2-year-old design. These look like old Lumias to me. They're polycarbonate. One of them's big, one of them's small, and they have some very strange distribution of elements. There's asymmetrical speaker grills and strange dots that don't seem to do anything on the back and whatever. So I want to know what the feeling is with you guys. Enobong, you were there. You handled the devices, and these I did handle as well. What did you think about these phones?
Design-wise,
from an aesthetic point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, aesthetic. You said it's 2 years old. I consider that design 5 years old. It's based off the N9. Okay, let's just call it what it is. It goes way back there.
Mm-hmm.
They needed a design change. They needed something fresh.
Do you think these are it?
In terms of what?
Do you think these are fresh?
No, they're not fresh. No, I mean it's tweaked a little bit, but it's really not fresh. It's the same thing. It's the same comments I had from a lot of my viewers saying, "Yeah, it looks like my 1520, or even that even looks better." Those kind of conversations you're getting from people. In terms of, it feels lighter than it looks. That's the one thing.
Yes,
I'll give. Yeah,
no doubt, absolutely.
Because it looks big, and then you hold it, you're like, oh, okay.
Super lightweight.
It's not so bad. But aesthetically, I wasn't too pleased, but that wasn't my concern with Windows Phone. There were other things which, like I said, I had mentioned earlier that I wanted to see. The aesthetics, it's give or take. I think personally they will announce a Surface Phone in Barcelona, which is why we're getting this. This is just me.
This placeholder now. That's kind of my beef. Like, I don't think they're necessarily ugly. I'm not coming down on them for being gross looking phones. They're just sort of generically Lumia, and I think if you're gonna be, I just think they needed to have something here.
Yeah, they feel like phones Microsoft had to release. It has this new mobile operating system coming out. There's been this dearth of flagship level Windows Phone handsets. Microsoft absolutely had to release at least one phone like this now. And are we underwhelmed as a result? I mean, maybe. The design certainly didn't really reinvent itself in the way that it could have. With the Surface Book, we saw Microsoft can take the time and come up with a design that's captivating and really it's different from the way other manufacturers are doing things out there. So this very iterative, uninspired, I guess, look for the Lumias can feel like a disappointment in comparison. I think we might be responding to these differently if we didn't get the tablets and the phones at the same time here.
Yeah, I think I'd be saying the same thing even if they launched with their own event, but certainly the disparity would not be as striking. Because these are right next to each other. Like, you have these beautiful new Surface hardware that Microsoft designed and built. Then you have these sort of like leftover Lumia designs that have been sitting on the assembly line for a long time. So, but anyway, that aside, they showed off some really cool stuff with this stuff. I was able to try out Windows Hello, where you hold the phone up here and it scans your face and lets you into the phone. By the way, really awkward to have to hold your phone up here when you hold it down at your waist. It doesn't really work as well. In that way, it's no different from the Android Face Unlock thing that was launched back in the day. So I don't know what the deal is.
Well, it works better in low light, though.
It works better in low light because it's got that IR lamp up front that like illuminates your face, and that's actually really cool. But I think Windows Hello works better on a desktop. You sit down at your computer and you're like, okay, I'm here already. The computer's position is right in front of my face. It is ideally situated for Hello. I don't think holding a phone up thusly is terribly comfortable or convenient, which is why nobody uses Face Unlock anymore.
No, true. I agree with you. And I think, again, this goes back to what we just said about the remnants of design. We've seen this design for months, which means this hardware was done a long time ago. We couldn't add a fingerprint sensor. So Surface Phone, that will come. I mean, it's almost like we had to do something. We can easily put Windows Hello on this device and have something that's at least, some level of an additional security option, so to speak. And then, when we have that hardware in Barcelona, I'm praying for it. Then we can have, the fingerprint sensor and all the other, bells and whistles, because this is now the true next generation of Windows phones.
Let's talk about something cool. I meant to talk about something cool there, and I just ended up bringing up something else I could shit on. I didn't mean to do that. Let's talk about the cameras. It's the 20 megapixel 5th gen optical image stabilization with a dedicated camera button, by the way. Thank heavens that they did not throw that out, because that's still a huge differentiator for Lumia, I think. Well, it's not huge, but it's huge for me. No ghost flash. You can look like a human with that triple LED flash. Panos Panay was really talking up these cameras.
Yeah.
Like making a lot of promises. Here again, though, I think people are relying on these cameras to carry the Lumia line, but the Lumia line was kicking out awesome cameras before, but that was a world where Android cameras almost universally sucked, and the iPhone changed. Right, and the iPhone was like a great point-and-shoot camera, but really the image quality was like, okay, I mean, it's fine. And the Lumias were like, here's 41 megapixels, use digital zoom all you want. Whoa, that is not the case anymore. The Android phones, between all of the new Samsung phones and the LG G4, they're awesome cameras. They're the best smartphone cameras according to Reviewed. The iPhone camera has gotten an upgrade now, and it was good to begin with.
It's terrible.
The iPhone. We'll save that for another time, I guess. But like, so it's great that it has this, and I'm really looking forward to trying it out. And I think some people were testing it on the floor and finding it to be better than finding it to introduce less artifacts and less digital noise and stuff than some other phones.
I mean, from what I saw there, it handled pretty well for the shitty lighting, that's why I was giving the finger for the lighting there.
Is that what you were? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking up from writing my script, and Enobong just passes me by. I'm like, hey man, what's up? And he just like throws two birds right up at the ceiling. I was like, who are you mad at? Oh, the lighting. Yeah, the lighting is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess maybe that was for them to showcase how good the camera was in low light. I have no idea
whether intentional or not.
Yeah, but the camera. I mean, I agree. I think to some degree they wanted to showcase that. That would have been great, and they still have some time before launch if they showed us camera software that was far beyond everything else. Because LG just dropped the V10, right? And the V10 has all these different
manual video modes.
Manual video modes. Now you have all the same manual modes on taking photos on the Lumias, but you don't have it in video. So they didn't really update anything that's already been there. So that's where I think they could have done something to at least just shake it up.
That's true, but keep in mind that Lumia Denim launched at CES. I think this past CES. No, the one. What year? What month are we in? Okay, I think it was the last CES is when the Lumia Denim camera updates dropped, or right around there. And Microsoft hasn't had a chance to show that off yet because it released on a 930, which at that point was a year old or something. So no one really paid attention to it outside of us and Microsoft fans. And so I think this will give them an opportunity to show this stuff off. Before we get too far away from aesthetics as well, I'm reminded by many people that we missed the custom backs at this event.
Oh yes.
Can you tell us about those, Enobong, real quick? The backs that you can slap on these phones.
So they had they showcased 3 custom backs. They were all leather. There was a tan brown one that just looked divine.
Yeah. God.
It was tan brown. There was a white one that actually looked better. It was like white leather that you see some women carry some white leather handbags that just look really glossy. I don't know how to describe it, but it just looked sweet. And then there was a black one, and they all looked really good, and they felt just as light as a regular back cover. They all had wireless charging, built into the back cover. Nice. And I just read today from the guys from Windows Central saying Microsoft is no longer going to make back cover accessories. They're going to now partner with third parties to make as many as possible for the Lumia device.
Farming that out. Yeah, and these, in fact, were from a firm whose name I've forgotten starts with an M. But yeah, they look gorgeous in the photos, and we missed them completely at the event because, like I said, we got kicked out a little earlier than we thought we were going to. But they look great, and they're going to go a long way. If we said the G4, the LG G4, can change its desirability significantly based on what back it's wearing, which I think is true, the same has got to be true for these. So that's something in their corner. They've got USB Type-C. They've got the Snapdragon 808 and the 810, and the one with
fast charging and USB Type-C.
Fast charging and Type-C, yes. But don't forget the liquid cooling technology. By the way, Stephen, hold on, wait. Before you say, I got to give Stephen Schenck props because he called it. This is a heat pipe.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know what it was until Joe Levi. I asked him, I'm like, Joe, I don't know what a heat pipe is. Can you tell me and everyone else who reads Pocketnow what a heat pipe is? And then he wrote a great explainer piece. And I was like, oh, okay, very cool. So briefly, Stephen, can you just tell us what it is very quickly?
It's basically like a long, skinny heat sink. You get hot stuff on one side, the whatever materials inside, liquid in this case, carries it away, it gets dissipated elsewhere. It has to go somewhere, so it's still on the phone, but by moving it away from the SoC, the RAM, the stuff that's getting hot, you can dissipate it a little more slowly so you don't get those hot spots that really end up making your hand a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, is that just what it's moving into the magnesium frame, they told me. Now, they told me all this, and they said it was only on the XL. They did not say it was on the 950, and everyone else is reporting it's on both of them.
I reported it was on both, so I apologize. I just wanted to clarify because.
No, listen, they may have told me wrong, but we've heard wrong stuff from people on the floor at these things before, but the gentleman seemed very confident that it was on the XL. I kept asking him, so only the magnesium frame and only the heat pipe are only on the XL. He's like, that's correct. Okay.
They should have it on the 808 processor. That thing heats up anyway.
The 808 does heat up too.
I have no idea.
No question. Well, they all heat up. The Exynos on the Samsungs heat up. they all get hot if you.
Can we be a little angry at Microsoft for being the slightest bit disingenuous and calling this liquid cooling? Because no one would say, I have a liquid-cooled PC. They would not. I mean, everyone has. Well, everyone. If you have any big heatsink on there, you have heat pipes. You don't call it liquid cool.
Sure, but and you know what though, and also we should say that Sony's been using this stuff forever, which is one of our listener mails. But I don't know. I'm gonna give them this because it's like, what else are they gonna do? They're like, they already said we've got this awesome camera. Oh, you've seen our awesome cameras before. We've got this polycarbonate design from a long time ago. We've got a liquid cooled smartphone.
We did something.
Untrue. Yeah. Another something, the big something. Let's stop burying the lead. Continuum.
Yeah.
Very cool. The demo. I was just recently told the name by a commenter. The name of the person who demoed it, and then I lost his name again. I'm sorry.
The guy with the hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was the best. So he comes out, and what happens? He's got the Lumia 950, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pops
so-
it into the, what do they call it? The display dock or something?
Yeah,
Continuum dock,
the
I think,
Continuum
right?
dock, which is just basically a Apple TV looking like box that sits there, and you've got all the cables coming out of it, and you plug your phone into one of the cables, and the other cables snake out to a keyboard and a monitor of your choice, or the keyboard can be Bluetooth, the mouse can be Bluetooth, whatever. Basically, you just need it to go to the display, and boom, the display powers on, and you've got what looks like
computer.
Windows 10. You've
Yeah.
got a taskbar at the bottom, you've got the Cortana bar, you can run apps side by side. It's a computer. And so where is it not? It can't multitask as robustly. There were not as many available things to run. It looked like, and it's slimmed down. But just as I'm sitting there in the audience, being like, "Oh, this is just a
Atrix.
Atrix,
Yeah.
yeah, right. This is
Oh,
just
Lord.
a blown up like BS operating system." They were like, "No, watch this," and fired up. I think it was PowerPoint, and like threw a thumb drive into the dock and grabbed some pings, threw the pings into the presentation, drag and dropped them in, accessed the file system, did all this stuff. I'm like, wow,
Productivity, like what?
like what? Yeah. Now you can be productive like a boss. And then he dropped the mic and sauntered up the stage. I mean, it was a cool demo. If I were a guy who used Office every day, and
I mean, Microsoft's been telling us this is what it's going to do, going back months now. But I
there was
this
nothing,
contingent,
right.
we've been thinking, there's no way this is going to work nearly as well as they're saying, and it kind of seems like it does.
yeah, and the phone can handle, the phones seem to be powerful enough to handle throwing doing these graphics on a larger display and multitasking while they're doing it, and yeah. Oh, and you can use the phone. Your usage of the phone is not impaired by having Continuum running on the screen. So if you get like a text message and you don't want to deal with it on the screen, which you can do.
I was all ready to be a little peeved. This isn't technically a dock. It's like a hub thing, because you plug the phone into it. You're not like dropping it into a slot there. But that also lets you interact with this sort of functionality. Wouldn't be possible if it was glued into a little stand on your desk.
Yeah.
Right. What did you think, Enobong? Were you impressed?
I mean, I was. I look at it as I look at it for, it's great for, I won't say small businesses, but emergent businesses where you do some travel, if you have that with you, if you just need to do something, because a lot of people say, yeah, I do my work from my phone. And I do that too, but if I need to start drafting anything lengthy in an email more than 2 paragraphs, I am looking for my laptop or something else, because I just want to be able to structure it properly. And that's where this kind of comes in. Again, it depends on how it's actually marketed and who they are trying to target with it. I mean, some of the rumors, which I believe I saw from you guys, is that pricing in Europe, it will be bundled with the Continuum dock. So
wait, what's going to be bundled with the phone's going to be bundled? With the
phone
dock?
will be bundled with a dock. Yeah. So, oh no, not from you guys. Sorry. It was from somebody else. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I was
thinking. I was like, wait,
would have put that in the rundown because that sounds awesome.
But there were it was not even rumors. It was actually leaked images from, I remember what company's website who sells phones, and they showed the pricing of 950 XL with the Continuum dock, and it went up by an extra, say, $100 or $75, something like that. I can't remember exactly the pricing for that.
This is sort of my thing, right? Too. It's like the wireless charging thing. It's like, if you want something to catch on, put it in the box and and kind of eat the cost and let people fall in love with that feature that only you have, so that they don't go anywhere, they don't want to go anywhere else. But that's a consumer piece of thinking, and none of this is consumer oriented. Can we talk about that really quickly with regard to these phones? Like, these phones have undergone a transformation. People are asking, and I'll just select the question right now. Jonas Gamau in the chat. Would you, Michael, buy the new Lumia 950 or 950X? No, personally, no. But they're not targeted at me. They're not aimed at any of us, guys. Windows Phone is not Windows Phone anymore. It's Windows 10 mobile. And it's not a consumer-targeted platform anymore, I would argue. And tell me, guys, jump in if you disagree with me. But Microsoft has sort of seen the writing on the wall. They're not going to catch up with in the ecosystem way that they need to with iOS and Android. So they're making it an enterprise push. yes, they'll have a consumer version of the Windows 10 phone if they stick with the plans they announced a couple months ago. But it's very clear to me that enterprise is the push with all this new stuff.
It makes a lot of sense.
I don't know necessarily enterprise, but certainly a more business-focused, productive, even just like home, small business users, like you mentioned earlier. This isn't, not talking like BlackBerry size, administrative scaling, that sort of thing. Although certainly you can do that with Windows 10 and Windows 10 Mobile.
I think we are talking about that. Yeah, I think they are. I think they're pushing into that area too.
I think they are covering all those grounds because all the news I hear about Windows, exactly, all 30,000 MPD officers are to get Windows 10 mobile devices.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so
it would be just like the NFL, and we call them iPads.
And I've seen news of like different businesses in Europe, South America getting Windows phones, and it looks like Microsoft is using that approach because eventually it's still, it's almost like trickle-down economics, which is terrible. But thinking if you go through businesses, it will still eventually come back. But if you at least stay in businesses, you at least have a market share in that perspective, which for them, since they don't have Google services, which is what I tweeted out.
But no, but wasn't there? Oh, that was the Facebook announcement. So I got all excited because right before the event there was this leak that I think we may have run on the heels of somebody else running it. That like Google is rumored to be developing Windows 10 apps for Windows 10, and I was like, oh sweet, that's going to be sick. And then at the event they announced not that, but they announced that Facebook is developing a suite of apps for Windows 10, which is actually really great news. Let's not play it down because Windows Phone in particular was really lacking in usable versions of that stuff. I think the Instagram app is still in beta on Windows Phone. I think it's like 2 generations old feature-wise right now.
Yeah, but I mean, you use what's the developer's name? You use his app.
Six tag or six.
And the rest of them,
Yeah. But which are great. Those are great titles, but that's not really a solution anymore. But anyway, yada 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 yada. These are enterprise-targeted phones now, I think, and I think a lot of consumers are going to buy them because a lot of people still like Windows Phone, and I'm down. I still like Live Tiles and all that stuff, but it's not what it used to be. It used to be this groundbreaking UI that was different from anything else out there, and now it just feels like this cobbled together thing. But we'll see how it goes.
So sad.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to trying it out. There's something else that we're missing. I'm really looking forward to trying Continuum. I didn't say this before. Are you guys, Enobong, are you going to live with Continuum for a bit? Are you going to because I'm going to do it for like a week. I'm just going to be like, all right, this is my computer. This is my Lumia 950 XL. This is my computer. I'm going to carry it everywhere, and it's going to be my thing. I'm going to have to buy a monitor and keyboard for it, which is crazy, but I'm going to.
You don't have a monitor?
No, I don't have a monitor. I have a laptop, like a civilized person.
Well, I don't know because I just built my 3rd computer today, so.
Yeah, you've got enough spare parts sticking around.
I will test it out, and then I'll probably get bored and go back. I was like, I don't mind. but I'll definitely check it out.
That's a concern, I think, of mine, and that's another reason that I'm thinking it's such an enterprise push. Because who has? And I'm not talking about us guys. I'm not talking about people who build computers. Who in the normal space has oh yeah, I've got a keyboard and a monitor and a mouse sitting there not doing anything?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. Why isn't there? I mean, they had to come out with new phones that support Continuum. This hardware, it's not going to work with older models that are upgrading. But why not have something where it's all built in, where it connects to your TV wirelessly, connects to a keyboard over Bluetooth, and it's just all built into the phone? Why do you need this dock for it?
That is a good question.
I mean, for if you want to put in a thumb drive or something, or plug in, gigabit Ethernet, yes, but
I think the problem is wireless connectivity. If you ever were to go into say what do you call it again, like one of those workspaces, that's another reason to use it because they all have monitors there.
Like a shared workspace, a shared office.
Exactly, yeah. You don't have wireless connectivity with monitors yet. Even with TVs, it's a little wonky. Yeah. So you stay away from that all entirely.
Or even like MHL or something. I don't know.
Really, nobody uses that. Come on.
I guess Stephen, I was a little put off by the sort of box. Like if you look at the thumb we've got up in the media card right now, it's like it kind of looks sort of semi-elegant because most of the shot is cropped out. But really, this box is like.
Doesn't it do 4K? Wait, doesn't it do 4K though?
I think it's 1080p is what we reported. Does it? I don't know. Check that. But I'm just talking about the hardware itself. It's sort of this like octopus of cables coming into it. It's it's a hub like every other hub looks. It's I don't know. I don't know, guys. We're going to try it. We're going to use it in the real world. I think it is the coolest thing that they showed off as it relates to Windows Phone, but obviously we're not ready for this. Windows 10 Mobile isn't even dropping to existing Lumias until December. Let's just kick that out of the rundown real quick. But these phones are slated to be available in November, and they're in Microsoft stores right now if you want to play with them.
Yeah, they have the demos.
Is it November? I thought it was October 28th.
Well, they said November at one point. While I'm looking that up to confirm it, Stephen, why don't you tell us what's been going on with this carrier exclusivity mess in the United States with these phones?
Well, as soon as they were announced, AT&T came out saying, we're going to have the 950. We're going to be selling this thing in our stores once it's available. And that's cool. But then the story started going around where we had a former Nokia, now Microsoft executive talking to, I believe it was CNET, who said something to the extent of, oh, yeah, this is going to be an AT&T exclusive, as will the 950 XL. And everyone sort of went, what are you talking about here? Is Microsoft just going to sell this through its own store and online like previous Lumias? Why would it lock down these to a single carrier like this and not mention anything about it during the event? And all the other carriers started saying, yeah, what the heck is going on here? We never really had an option to sell this. We are very confused too. And a story ended up coming out, and Microsoft spoke up, eventually confirmed this, because there was a heck of a lot of confusion going around here, saying, yes, AT&T is going to have the 950. We will also have it in our store, though, and you're free to activate this wherever you would like. The 950 XL will also be in Microsoft stores. AT&T has not committed to carrying that. But again, you can buy that there and then just take it to AT&T or to T-Mobile and set it up with a SIM from those guys. So you're not constrained like we initially thought might be a possibility here. So the sky is not falling. Breathe evenly.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of noise being made, and rightfully so. AT&T has historically not been the best patron of Windows Phone, despite its repeated protestations to the contrary. But while these phones are compatible with both AT&T and T-Mobile, and that's great, somebody else was making a great point on another article somewhere, which seems to be a trend today. Can you tell us the end of the week, everybody? I can't remember who it was, so I can't cite them properly, but like many people would prefer to buy their phone from the carrier still. We all buy them unlocked, guys, because we're gadget geeks like that, but the regular consumer is like, oh, I really don't have $575 to drop on this thing that I'm not sure is going to last me for 2 years. Can I finance it? Oh, yeah, carriers are like, yeah, we can definitely do that. And I don't think Microsoft is announcing any financing right now.
I haven't heard.
No, they're not.
But that is an attractive price. I got to give them credit for that. They stayed under 600.
I cannot agree less.
No?
I can't agree less that that's an attractive price.
Just would it have to be for you?
To point out real quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
These have bands for all 4 major carriers. Do they have radios that support CDMA as well? Is that what you were saying? I'm sorry, I was looking something up. Find out. And then what were you about to say, guys?
Yeah. I mean, what price would you want the 950 and 950 XL?
This is really high-end hardware.
I mean, yeah, the hardware for the XL is the same as actually it's better than what you have in the V10. Let's just call it what it is.
Okay, but I have a camera. Like the camera is the main standoff point for this, but I have a display that is. What's the res on these? This is
5.7.
So I have a display that's about the same. I have a screen size that's about the same. I have a processor that is the same, and I have a camera that's probably about the same on paper in the Moto X Pure Edition. And this starts at $399.
Let's not even call that, please. Let's not do that. Just don't. It's
Why?
It's 808 processor, which is less.
It's not less than the 950. The 950 is
950 XL. I'm talking about that will compare with the XL.
So the XL starts at what? $575?
No, $649. It's only one price. $649 for the XL and $550 for the 950.
These are both 32 gigabyte, I think.
Yeah, both 32 gigabytes.
All right, and we didn't mention before they have removable batteries, both Windows phones, and they have micro SD expansion.
Yeah.
This doesn't have, the Moto X Pure Edition doesn't have a removable battery, but it does have micro SD expansion. And it's $150 less, and it has a much stronger ecosystem from a consumer perspective. So that's why I'm confused about these prices.
Yeah, but what would you want them to price it at? At the same price as that, though? I mean,
yeah. I'm comparing to like to Galaxy S6 to Note
6, yeah,
5.
you're not.
Sure, but the Galaxy S6 isn't selling as well as Samsung wants it to either. They're in the same exact problem. Like, no one else can
It's
justify
still
these
selling
high
better than
prices anymore.
Motorola, though. I mean, so.
Sure it is, because Motorola isn't available through carriers, which is exactly the same problem this is about to have. These phones are not going to move. But they're not meant for consumers. They're going to move. They're going to push them to enterprise.
Yeah, true, but I don't think the phones are going to move because it's not available to carriers. It's back to the ecosystem. It doesn't have Google Apps. Case closed. Done. If they had announced that they had, Gmail, YouTube, Google Maps coming, that would have been the big news running throughout the whole week, and the people were like, go buy a Windows Phone now. It's great.
Yeah, and I think they're holding that because I think they will be able to say that once they figure out whatever the hell they're doing with porting iOS and Android apps. Yeah. I feel like they're still in a sticky spot with this, or they've figured it out, they've got it locked down, and they're using whatever crazy anti-leak technology that they've been using that they used to hide the Surface Book to keep this news locked down until they're ready to have a genuine Windows 10 phone event with like a Surface phone and like, this is the way it's going to be, here's the way forward.
Barcelona.
We will see. I hope you're right about that. We do have to move on from Microsoft here. I want to hit some Q&As before
we're not going to talk about the Microsoft golf button.
The band?
The band 2. Yeah, the band 2 sort of looks okay.
It's good for golf.
It's good for golf. No, I mean, we can talk about it. If we want to talk about one last thing. What? Oh, are you amped on it? I'm sorry. Hold up. Let me just hit these. Jonas Gamow says the Brian Roper is the name of the guy who did Continuum. That is right, and he was a demoer, and that was great. And the accessories we were talking about, the back covers from Arjun PC, Mozo accessories, M-O-Z-O. In case you want to look up the back covers, they look really good. But yeah, the Microsoft Band 2. Enobong is really amped on it and is going to punch me in the face if I leave without it. I guess this makes sense. You're kind of a fitness guy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The Band 1 I loved because
you loved the Microsoft Band First Edition.
Yeah, First Edition. Not the design, functionality. It worked. The only thing better than it was a Fitbit Surge.
Okay.
Actually, for about the same. So which means
stuff.
For fitness stuff, it works excellently well.
Had a ton of
tracking, all that stuff really works. So I loved it for that. I didn't like the design. Of course, it was terrible. You would scratch all over the place. So I like the improvements they've added to that. I love the fact they added one more sensor for elevation. So
That's right.
For if you're fitness inspired, you're looking for something other than the Fitbit, this is the only thing you're going to get.
But aren't we still talking smartwatch prices for something that's essentially a fitness tracker? That's my big problem here.
So that's a good question. What is the comparable fitness tracker from, say, Fitbit, and how much is that?
Same price. Surge, I think. It's about the same price. So to me, I'm not bothered about that because it doesn't pretend to be a smartwatch. To me, smartwatches pretend to be watches, and they don't do a good job either. So we're talking apples and oranges here when my battery dies and I can't check the time. Sure. Comparable. So that's why, for me, as long as they can match their competitor and partner Fitbit, which they've done, and again improve the design, I think it's worth picking up if you're fitness oriented. If you're not, then it's not for you.
Remember that it'll sync with Android and iOS devices in addition to Windows phones, and I would probably myself get one of these if I decided to carry a Windows phone full time but I would do exactly what you're talking about, Enobong. I would use it as a fake smartwatch. but I would do that with it. Like, I think I would spend the $249 on this, even though that's way pricey for all the features of it. I wouldn't be using like any of the exercise stuff because it still gives you all your notifications just like the Band 1 did. And the Band 1 did a good job of that on Windows Phone. And it was one of the only watches you could buy that would sync with your Windows Phone. So yeah, there's that Band 1. The video we're showing now is the first edition. Now there's the second edition band. I really like how they've refined the design. I think it is much prettier. It's still pretty chunky on the wrist, but it's so much prettier.
Yeah, they did say that it will monitor your VOX2.
VO2 Max.
VO2 Max. I don't know how. I'm like, really?
So that is what? That is the level of blood in your oxygen in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Didn't we hear that this tech was built into the Apple Watch, but Apple wasn't doing the pulse oximeter thing for fear of like FDA regulation?
Yeah, but also I think they do it in conjunction with a bunch of the others. Apple Watch doesn't have as many sensors as it is to actually fine-tune it, especially with the constant heart rate monitoring.
In terms of sensors, this thing is crazy. I mean, you can't do better. You can't do better than the Band in terms of just raw sensor count. So that's a plus.
So yeah, if you're fitness minded, this is great. If you want notifications on your Windows phone, also this is great. Other than that, if you want a smartwatch, it is not.
But it will take 2 strokes off your handicap.
Yes,
That's the important thing.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't in the rundown. We don't have a media card for it, but the HoloLens demo was shown off too. They brought that back out, which I went on a crazy roller coaster. Enobong's about to lose his shit over there because he loves this too. The HoloLens demo was so cool. They had the guy on stage with the screens alongside the stage so you could see what he was seeing. And he had this like crazy holographic gun on his arm. It was blowing holes in the walls. They were mapped perfectly to the walls, and the robots would come through and shoot them and dodge them. It was crazy. But it was a hugely deceptive demo.
Yeah.
Because the field of view of the HoloLens is apparently, I hear.
Have you guys tried it?
No.
One of us has, but that person is not here on the podcast.
I did try. They had
tried
it that night.
Okay.
And it was like scratch to win, a chance to check out the HoloLens, and I won. So I was like, I'll check it out. The field of vision is.
So it's effectively what, like a pair of like swim goggles held up.
Something like that.
I heard it described as a business card 2 inches from your eyes.
It is small, but rather quickly you get immersed fast. I mean, I was very disappointed when I saw the field of vision. I was like, I told the guy, I'm like, oh, this is small. And then it started, I was like, oh, never mind. I was like rolling. I almost, the first thing they tell you is do not do a barrel roll. And I almost did one twice.
Am I wrong that I would rather see this? I love the software Microsoft is using to capture the room, to identify the walls, to lock the game elements and things to these real-world surfaces. I would love to see this tied to a more immersive headset, something like an Oculus or the HTC thingy, but with like a camera for an augmented reality thing. But so you got a more immersive experience out of it.
See, I'm not sure how that worked with Oculus, because when you get into Oculus, you're lost in that world, and you don't care about.
Put a bunch of cameras on it, so it's.
I mean, it's. I think what it is. So I think they can get that field of vision because the first thing, it is truly wireless.
I love that it's just a self-contained thing you put on your head and then you're
so it's a matter of matching bandwidth, wireless transmission, all that stuff to get the field of vision probably wider. And there's a reason they're probably keeping it that way, because from what you can see, it definitely could be wider. It's just literally it's plugged like a 4x3 TV. It's almost like the old TV set right there behind you, Stephen.
Oh yeah.
You want to know
Magnavox.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like that graphically. It doesn't look like that, which is a good thing. I would say it's very immersive once you especially the game Project X-Ray. Once you start playing, you get right into it very quickly, and you start walking around the room and using the whole parameters. But it's definitely a small field of vision. It really looks like that.
Now that we're talking VR, I realize, Michael, I have to ask you. You ever watch William Shatner's Tech War?
That 90s sci-fi series? Yeah,
the cyberpunk thing.
I watched like one episode.
I was just rewatching this the other day. This is fantastic. You have to revisit this.
I think I'll have to add that to my rewatch queue. If you want to try the HoloLens yourself, and you're a developer, and you've got some extra scratch lying around, they will be taking applications for the HoloLens dev kit, or they already are. God. Which ships in
sell your kidney right now.
The first quarter of next year for $3,000. Yeah. So there. So and I'm actually not offering any comment on whether that's expensive or not for what you're doing.
I really don't have a good sense of scale there.
I think it's a really good thing to get on the bottom level of. I think the VR landscape is very much still a Wild West, even though there is some consolidation happening around certain things. I think there's going to be a long time before any of these products are, one, really ready for mass consumer adoption, and two, before any one of them really pulls ahead of another. So we'll see. I have an important question for Enobong before I ask Jules to bring us into news. Do you want to stick around for news, Enobong, or you got stuff to do there in Brooklyn? I know you're fancy now in New York. There's a lot more to do over there. So.
No, I can hang around. It's cool. I'm just gonna quietly open up my mystery box.
What's in there?
Don't do it quietly.
What? Show it off. Show it off, man. Here, I'm going to lock the camera on you so we can see what deliveries Booredatwork.com is getting. By the way, while he opens the box, I'm going to say that if you want to go to Booredatwork.com, you got to remember the double that O. Boored.
Oh, it's a Surface, not a Surface Pro 4.
I was going to be so irate. Yeah. You got a Surface 3, or your Surface Pro 3.
Yeah. My Surface Pro 3 had an issue with the display where there was a yellow tint running from the very top to the bottom of the left-hand side. So I got a replacement here.
Boy, talk about not worth the wait.
I know. I was like, I saw the white top, I was like, oh, please tell me it was a Surface Pro 4, please.
Dude, if that was a Surface Pro 4, I would have, if I were you and that was a Surface Pro 4, I would have just not even said goodbye. I was just going like, peace out. I'm going to go film something. Oh, God. Yeah, you're right. Steven's got a heart out, so we got to get moving. Jules, take us into news. Not much in the news block that wasn't Microsoft this week, and I like it that way.
Some other stuff happened.
Yeah, no, listen. I'm jazzed about it. There just isn't much of it. That's all I'm saying. Steven, get us through this OnePlus thing real quick, because this is crazy to me, but we can't spend too much time on it.
Yeah, the OnePlus 2, which feels like it just got here. People are still trying really hard to get their hands on this guy. They're going to have a chance to coming up soon. OnePlus said a little while back it was going to give you a end run around the whole invite process for a special 1-hour sale at some future date. It didn't have the details at the time. Now we have it. It's coming up this Monday, I believe. Monday, October 12th. Yeah, starting at noon Pacific time. You got the cash. You don't have an invite. This is your opportunity to score the OnePlus 2. You might want to hold off, though, because we also are hearing about invites are going out now for an event in India where OnePlus is expected to announce its next smartphone already. This guy we've been talking about is the OnePlus Mini. I believe a company executive just recently confirmed the name OnePlus X.
Which is a hot name, BT Dubs.
Everyone wants the X in there.
I know, but X. Right?
Hardware-wise, I believe we're looking at was a 1080p screen, 2 GB of RAM, and a MediaTek processor this time around.
Ooh.
So, but like the good one, that Helios, the 10-core thing.
XX10.
Yeah.
Says Jules.
So it should
X10.
have decent performance, while maybe not living quite up to the OnePlus 2, and hopefully at a very attractive price. And when is that event here?
It is next week in India, and it is. I thought it was Wednesday, perhaps. X10 ain't it, by the way, says Jules. You can look it up in the rundown. I'm tired of talking about MediaTek processor.
That's an awful naming strategy.
Do. I don't know. Where is it? I can't find it in the thing. It's got the invitation as next big step written on it. Given Carl Pay's recent comments, is operating. I don't think it's in the story. Unless it's in the headline. No, just next week. Business Times didn't say. Yeah. No, I wasn't saying it was your fault, Jay. All right, cool. Well, that went exactly as smoothly and as quickly as I wanted to. Let's move on to the other story.
BlackBerry, speaking of.
Yeah!
When is this Priv finally going to come out?
I don't know. It's not soon enough, though, because I think this is going to be my next phone. I'm super jazzed.
Yeah.
What?
Continues to look super good. We're seeing some new hands-on pics. It's ridiculously thin, in spite of having this rather physically complicated slider design. They're still keeping it. It's like 7mm or something.
Wow. Super thin. It's almost as thin or thinner than the Note 5.
Yeah.
That is thin.
Which
kind of makes me a little nervous.
Yeah. Does it make you nervous about what? I want to see if you and I are nervous about the same thing.
Well, about snapping the screen off. Christ.
Oh, not me. No, I'm nervous about the key travel not being. I'm worried about the keys being like really lame.
Yeah. I haven't used a BlackBerry keyboard in forever.
I've been using one all frackin' week because ever since the Priv started getting really hot, like the news started running stories every day on the Priv, and John Chen started giving interviews and trying to show it off and not really knowing how to work Android, which was hilarious. I've been so jazzed on this thing. And I want to make it clear that I'm going to judge this fairly when I review it, and I will be the one to review it. But I sort of, regardless of my findings, almost, I'm sort of committed to buying this for myself because this hits all the right notes with me. So anyway, the point is, I've been using a BlackBerry Passport for a week to get used to the keyboard again, the physical keyboard, and the swiping around on that touchpad keyboard combo is so handy. And they're gonna have a similar feature on the Priv. Yep. So the Priv is we just have new figures. But interestingly, if you are not a Priv fanboy and you just want to know about what BlackBerry is still around, they were throwing around some numbers, and apparently Chen says that BlackBerry has to hit 5 million units shipped.
Yeah, it's aiming to sell 5 million phones over the course of next year.
Is that just the Priv?
Not just the Priv, but I mean at this point,
5 million.
I imagine the Priv is going to be a pretty substantial chunk of that.
Okay. Yeah, in recent quarters, Jules is highlighting sales figures have hit 1.6 million, or just 800,000.
Yeah, 1.6 was a couple quarters ago. 800,000 was the most recent, which, considering the 5 million a year figure, those are kind of roughly in line. The 800's a little low, but if they can get back up to the 1.6, that'll push you well over 5 million. Sure. I don't know if the Priv will be exciting enough, if this is too late, because we still don't know when this thing is coming out. It seems like it's been
end of the year.
Launch.
Yeah, so by the end of the year.
Then, but when?
Yeah, exactly. It has to be before Thanksgiving. Anything before Thanksgiving, you are safe. After that, then you just wasted your time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the teaser website says fall, coming this fall. So when does fall end?
Well, just fall all but the last week of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
What is it? December 21st is the first day of winter, or something like that.
Yeah, something within those realms.
Yeah, we're not narrowing it down very much.
So we can probably bet that they're going to push this all the way to as far off as they possibly can, because there is a lot of software customization they're doing. People are sort of reporting that this looks like stock Android. It's not. There are some significant customizations.
There's a lot of BlackBerry stuff baked in there.
Yeah, and it's being positioned as this sort of secure alternative as well.
Right, for privacy, because that's how we pronounce it.
Privacy.
What do you think about this, Enobong? Are you going to get yourself a Priv like I am?
I'm excited. I have to say this. I have a buddy of mine in the UK who's a big BlackBerry fan and a big fan of Mr. Michael Fisher.
Oh, hey.
He's always reminding me. He's like, "Yeah, Michael Fisher likes BlackBerry." I'm like, I'm not trying to hate on this thing, so I'm definitely going to spend time with it. I do like the idea of them running Android because I think BlackBerry OS just has no place in this world. So,
harsh, but not unfounded.
I mean, just because they are late. It's not because it's terrible or anything.
No, it's a good OS.
Yeah, but I definitely want to see what they do with it because it'd be interesting going back to a physical keyboard though, which. I've used a little bit, and from what I've seen from the hardware specs, it looks nice. I'm more concerned about the weight distribution once you slide it out. It's just so thin, and
We've heard really promising things. They claim it's very comfortable to use. It doesn't feel out of whack when extended there.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's my concern is just the weight distribution when you slide it out, and if also there has to be an on-screen keyboard too, right?
Yeah, I wonder how many users are going, or to what extent people are going to be using the slider on there. If they
there's probably people who are never going to deploy it.
Yeah.
But then why buy it?
Because if it's 7.6 millimeters, I mean that's very thin.
Yeah, it's not like there's a trade-off for it being there.
As Jules points out, it's got a 3,600 milliamp hour battery is the current speculation.
Maybe Samsung, you need to learn, okay?
I would talk about the BlackBerry all day, but we got to keep it moving, and we are going to be talking about it later this season when we get one way, or the other.
Yes,
we're gonna find out. We're gonna get
Actually, I was like, one thing leads to another. That's the song I was thinking of.
Oh,
I didn't really get there. Anyway, Apple's phones are made of different things, and it actually doesn't mean anything, but we thought it meant something, right?
It means a little.
Okay. You like that rundown? So the Apple's SoCs are made by what? TSMC and Samsung?
Yeah, and they got different ways of doing things. We have a 14 nanometer A9 and a 16 nanometer A9, and unsurprisingly, there's a little bit difference in performance or in power consumption between the two. There were reports about hours difference in battery life depending on which iPhone 6s you got. Apple's saying, nah, you guys are making a mountain out of a molehill here. Yeah, there's a little difference, but unless you're running all sorts of fancy synthetic benchmarks, you're probably not going to notice anything. Apple claims the real-world difference is on the range of like 2 to 3% over the course of the battery life. I think we need to grab a couple of these and do some tests, but...
Yeah. I would say that since you have a 1718 milliamp battery in there, it doesn't really matter because you have shitty battery life.
Well, that's not true. It's not true at all, though. On the Plus, the Plus has outstanding battery.
I meant the 6S.
You meant the straight up 6S? Yeah.
No, the Plus is good. Plus is fine.
Plus is great battery life. I think it's the first iPhone I miss. Now, somebody could probably go back and listen to a podcast from a year ago and call me a hypocrite because I may have said the same thing about the 6. But I moved out of the 6S Plus recently, and I actually do miss it. 3D Touch was cool, but I don't really actively miss it. I miss like leaving my phone there and walking away for 4 hours and coming back and finding that its battery life is the same because its standby time is done right. Yeah. That's one thing I really don't like about Android at all. That'll be interesting to find out about the new Windows 10 phones because Windows Phone 7 was quite good at battery management. Windows Phone 8 was not as good, but it was still okay if you didn't take a lot of pictures, at least on the 1020. And then, like, who knows what Windows 10 will do? It torpedoed the battery life on the Surface 3 and the Surface Pro 2, and I think everything it's ever touched.
Well, you ran the preview for a bit, didn't you? I mean, that was months ago.
Oh, on the phones?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that runs so badly. Like on my 930.
Let's hope things have improved.
Running
it runs like
Windows 10 Mobile, the 930 is just too hot to pick up at all times. But that's the preview, so we're not going to judge it based.
Fair enough.
The Commodore smartphone is probably not going to ever exist or be shipped to a single living human being.
Oh no.
That is probably not the real news. But who knows? We ordered one a long time ago, as you may recall. We were very excited about it back in July when it was announced. And then we stopped covering it because, like everyone else, it was like, okay, we hit this already.
Why were we excited about this guy? Isn't he just a regular smartphone with a Commodore emulator on it?
Yeah, but that's really all you need to get me excited. Because I'm so married to the past, you understand?
Oh, man.
They dropped all the friggin' blogs covered this. We all got super jazzed. We're all like, look at all this news! Commodore is back! And like a week later, when we like roughly 6 days after we forgot that we reported on all that, there were some major legal issues. The copyright holder to the Commodore brand was like, hey, we didn't give you guys permission to build a phone with our mark. And then the people who hold the rights to the software necessary to run those emulators was like, oh, by the way, you didn't talk to us at all. So, and then Commodore Business Machines, who's making the phone, was like, don't worry, guys. We know that this is a little crazy, but there will be no delays in shipping our phones. So that was in freaking August. No one has seen a phone yet that I can tell. I reached out to a bunch of people on Twitter. I looked at a bunch of comment threads and message forums. A bunch of frustrated people who paid $350 for a phone. Phone hasn't shown up. All Commodore keeps doing is promising people and asking for patience. And there's been no resolution to any of these legal disputes. Everything in the database is still listed as contested, and it just is a giant quagmire. Get your money back if you can.
Wow. The coin.
Oh, and I finally got my coin now that it's obsolete. But apparently they're building a second version of it. But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. Did you get a coin?
No, they sent me an email that said I'll be getting coin too instead.
Oh, you jerk face. They should have sent me that email. I got the first one.
I use Samsung Pay. I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, oh, I use mobile payments now, so who cares? iOS loses market share stateside, but Android slumps everywhere else.
These are some interesting figures here. I mean, we're used to seeing iOS and iPhone sales being really big in the U.S. and different levels throughout the rest of the world, but primarily the U.S. has been Apple's market here. Oddly, it's going down here and up everywhere else. I also think we didn't, it's not in the headline here, but Windows Phone showed some nice growth as well. It's not as across the board, but in some major markets we saw it gaining a couple percentage points there. Mm-hmm. And considering how long it's been since there's been a Windows Phone model worth getting, that's pretty important.
Well, worth getting on the high end, but they've still continued to play heavily in the low end, and
sure,
including with phones like the one we didn't talk about before, their new $130 option, the 5 whatever.
Oh yeah. $550. I mean, to be fair, they mentioned it for all of like 45 seconds during the event.
It was not a focus of the
It was about 20 seconds. It's like, it's coming out. Here's the slide.
It was Microsoft's iPad Mini 4.
Also, Microsoft sort of shot itself in the foot in that respect, just to really quickly, and this isn't a legitimate criticism, this is just something that popped into my head, so tell me if I'm totally wrong. But Microsoft is the one who came out with the Lumia 520, made it the most affordable phone ever by a long shot. Like, the 520, very shortly after it debuted, I think, was down to, I think, $99, and then lower than that.
Yeah.
And this was in an age before the Moto E existed, but it was cheap enough by the time the first Moto G rolled out, and it was like, oh, how cheap is it? And it was like $179. I'm like, oh, that's mad pricey. So, way cheaper than that. So when Microsoft, every time Microsoft is like, we've got a new cheap Windows phone, I'm like, how cheap is it? And they're like, 100, and I'm like, I don't care. You guys already impressed the hell out of me by going to 99, then 79, then 50 on that phone, on that 520. So, but I don't want them to lose money, so I don't know what I'm saying. It was worth the conclusion, wasn't it? You're glad you stuck around for that.
It was absolutely riveting.
What a joke I am. All right, so what about these market share figures with regard to iOS and Android, Steven?
Let's see, what are they exactly at here? In the U.S. here, over the course of the past year, we saw Android rise in the U.S. from like 64 to 67%. iOS dropped from 30 to 28. So not a big shift, but noteworthy just because this has been Apple's, place to shine here.
Curious. It was interesting that Android tumbled the worst in Australia, Germany, China, the UK, and France, though it remains the prevalent OS in those markets.
It had gains in Italy.
Fascinating. It's interesting to see how these things work, because people's choosing platforms is interesting. Listener mail? What do you think? Listener mail. Listener mail. Bong bong.
Bing boom.
So, the thing with listener mail is that sometimes we get it, and sometimes it's great. There it is. Thank you. Jules knows what I'm stalling. This is from Min, who's written into us before, so I think we can use Min's last name, even though we usually don't. It's from Min Nguyen. Putting devices aside, how do you feel about the Microsoft presentation on Tuesday? I think the company put on a new face and actually got the attendees excited about the devices. A hint of Apple, don't you think? The excitement that Panos Panay showed on stage gives me hope that Microsoft won't give up on its mobile OS. Do you guys have the same feeling? I'd love to hear the panel's opinion on this. By the way, you guys are doing a great job. Love the podcast. Keep it up. Thank you, Min. I needed that today. I needed that boost. I felt like garbage this morning. Go ahead, Stephen.
I know this is not going to be a popular opinion here. I do not like anything about Panos Panay's presentation style. I saw him up there on it, like, we need to get someone else presenting these products here.
Really?
There's just something about his delivery. It's a little too laid back for me.
Oh,
I want like a Steve Ballmer out there or something.
Ooh.
Wow. Yeah. No, you're right. It's not a popular opinion, but that's okay, man. You're free to share your unpopular.
I might need a drink after that one.
I am not going out of my way to advertise this opinion. I'm aware of that.
I would have agreed with you last year. I think when he was doing the Surface Pro 3 unveil, there was a lot of this kind of like, guys, it's so important. He was like, there was so much admonishment.
Still a lot of that.
Yeah, but not as much as last year. When the Surface Pro 3, like, he was kind of telling everyone how to do their jobs. Like, guys, you got to tell people this is important. Let me tell you why it's important. And it was just so. Ugh. This year, he sort of had a bit of the preacher in him. Like he married that admonishment,
very true.
Right, with this like very very I don't know, very adept means of delivering to a large crowd of people a presentation large enough to hit the back row without being too like fire and brimstone about it. I thought he.
I mean, the
really
content was there, and I think he grew on me over the course of the time he was on stage. But something that irks me about his style that I've yet to fully come to terms with. I mean, give me time.
Yeah. Jules says it was a pretty compact room. I don't know, Jules, if you're not referring to last year's event, if you're talking about this year, that's not true. It was a massive.
It didn't look like one.
Yeah,
it was quite a large space.
Last year was more compact than this year. I agree with you, his style, because I remember I was sitting down next to John V from Phone Arena, and I was like, and I was joking, I was like, preach on, preacher, because he just sounded like he was giving a sermon.
Absolutely, yeah, and not in a bad way. Like you can use that as an insult sometimes, but I feel like no, it was entirely called for in this case.
I like his. I mean, I like his style. I mean, honestly, he's probably better than every other CEO or anyone I've seen do press events, because everyone's always dull, dry, the worst kind of jokes possible. I'm like,
God, the jokes.
I'm like, keep quiet and just point to numbers and show me life.
I don't want to talk about it, but can we just say that as a direct comparison to the Google event, this thing was a pleasure to watch. That Google Nexus event, it felt like every 40 seconds there was another joke that would have been bad had it delivered well, and then it was delivered terribly. Like, this Microsoft event
was entertaining.
Oh, anyway.
There's no Galaxy S4 launch, but
that is true. Oh man, those were the days. Liquid cooling has been in Lumia, has been in Xperia's for a long time, says longtime writer in Guy B. Even in the latest Z5 series, just thought I'd give you a reminder for the podcast. There are liquid filters, just the same exact thing, just heat pipes. So, Sony,
it's all about the branding, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sony, you missed the boat on marketing the hell out of this.
Yeah.
And finally from Linus. All right. Hi, guys. When is the fabled Pocketnow Weekly After Dark coming? I've been waiting since episode 119. Love your work and can't wait for all the IFA content. This is an old email. Why did I bring this up? Why did I select this for today?
Why? Are we planning this now?
No, I think I want
on the calendar.
I brought it up just to explain why we haven't done one, and because it was like this podcast requires a lot of preparation. It sometimes doesn't seem like it. Sometimes you guys call us out for not researching enough or whatever. But this podcast takes a long time to put together every week, and an After Dark one would be a lot more relaxing for us. But I don't think it would be a very good show because we don't have time to prep another show every week. So
After Dark doesn't have to be prepped. You just wing it.
No, right, you just wing it, but then you end up with like a not a very good show.
Who said so? When the alcohol's involved.
Then it's even worse. Everyone on the air has a great time, but everyone in the audience is like, what the shit?
Why are we
why am I even tuning into this?
I would watch and participate at the same time.
Jules suggests we have a Christmas holiday special. We got to have a very, very special episode one of these days where we impart a very important lesson to the kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Eat your vegetables.
Yeah. Well, we got to get Steven out of here, so I think it's about time we wrapped up. Enobong, before we go, I'm going to say it in the outro, but please remind everyone where they can find you on the internet, because I want more people to find you on the internet, because you're a lot of fun.
Thank you. You can find me on YouTube. It's Booredatwork on YouTube. It's BOO, 2 O's. And also on our website is Booredatwork.com. And if you just type in Booredatwork on through your Google search, you will find me everywhere there's social media and content.
Some places there's not.
We find that hot content. And guys, just I've been asked to remind you that we have great advertisers that support the show, and we also need more data to feed them and us.
Is there a way our listeners can help with that?
There is, in fact. This helps us keep the show free for you, which I'm encouraged to say, and it's probably a really smart thing to say because, hey, it's a free podcast, but it's not free to put on. Go to podsurvey.com/pocketnow, podsurvey.com/pocketnow. It helps us too. It's not just the advertisers who are getting your sweet, sweet data. It helps us learn who the hell you are because we had a pretty good idea that you guys were all pretty cool people, but until we got the first round of surveys, we weren't able to confirm that. So, we're big on confirmation. Podsurvey.com/pocketnow. Please take the survey. It takes a few minutes, helps us out, and it's great. And I'm being played off like a long-winded Emmy Award recipient. So it's time for me to tell you that that's going to do it for this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly. Find us on Twitter, where our lenses are always hollow. Steven is at Steven Schenck, StephenSchencck. Enobong is at Booredatwork, BOOREDATWORK. Podcast producer Jules Wang is at Greenpoint Zero, just like it sounds. And I am at Captain Two Phones. It's Captain the number 2 Phones. Pocketnow is also there on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. And it all comes together like spicy curry and sticky tables at your favorite backwater Thai place at pocketnow.com. If you enjoy the podcast, people need to know about it, so please post about it so we can keep doing the podcast. Share it with your friends who love mobile technology, and share it with strangers. It's a great way to pick up those pretty people staring at you on the train. if they're not creepy. If they're creepy, get away from them. You can leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, carved into the stall of a often frequented bathroom at your local transit station, wherever else podcasts are heard or in the world. And remember, you can write to us for a chance to get your questions answered on the air. podcast@pocketnow.com. Thanks to our sponsor at Wix.com, and thanks to you for keeping us on the air for 3 years running. As always, the Pocket Now Weekly will be back with more mobile tech talk next week.
No, that really is after dark.
No, that's great. For the record, I don't know why we're watching Donald Trump.
I was
You know, that's a good time.